2019 is here, and we wanted to do a lot more tech videos this year for Golebys. So anything we do on our own cars, we thought we'd do short videos of if we have time. New Year's Day, thought we'd set up our race products diff in our Corolla. We've had it made to length. It's got to go back to get welded, but first we've got to set our pinion angles and obviously make sure it's in the right spot. So we spent probably an hour making sure it's in the right spot. We've taken a few measurements. One of our easiest spots was leaf spring to disc brake. We've also taken our rim to chassis rail. We've got it within 2 millimeters of center. You also need to check because leaf springs aren't always central in cars. We've had it on the ground and checked guard clearance inside of chassis rails as many places as we can. It's actually fairly true for an old car. Also shows where we've moved our leaf springs, which we had to get engineered. So we've got a 275 tyre on it with the factory chassis rails. It was actually the leaf spring that used to be in the way of where the tyre would have been. So the chassis rails have got plenty of room for a 275. It was actually the leaf spring which used to mount here. Got to finish capping off there when it comes out again. Front mounts are all finished. Factory front mount was there, so we've moved it a full width across. Still running our shackle bush. Engineer for roadworthy wanted us to keep the shackle, not go to a slider. Got a Gazzard monoleaf, which is 7mm at the back, and we've gone for 9mm at the front because it will actually get a lot of street driving and a lot of loads in the back and so on. So we've set our pinion angle, we've tacked our brackets in. Also made a box section, as you can see here, to raise the diff up without, to go any lower, otherwise we would have had a flat or inverse spring, which isn't a major problem, but by lowering it with a lowering block on the actual saddle, keeps a slight curve to the spring when it's at ride height. Got our Gazzard traction arms. So pinion angles, we've taken a heap of measurements on our engine, several spots, one being along here, which we know is a flat and true surface that runs in line with the crank / gearbox. So we get 3 degrees there. Check it on the other side. We've also checked it along this line here, which we also know is true with the crank. And edge of the gearbox here gives us the same degrees as the engine, so it's obviously that surface is true with the output shaft of the gearbox. So we originally had, I think, 1 degree downwards, but we're going to make up a spacer to go between our gearbox cross member, which gives us about 3 degrees down, which then in turn, when the car's running, if we need to go back the other way, it's as simple as making a different spacer and we can go back to, say, 2 degrees downward if needed. Pinion angle, which is not the same on the gearbox jack, so you always need to do this on the ground. We've got to actually, like that, which is positive 1 degree, so downwards 1 degree. The springs will settle a little bit yet, so we'll probably end up with about half a degree when the car's finished. We've also got some weight in the back to compensate for when the fuel tank and stuff's in when the car's finished. So with our 3 degrees downwards on the gearbox and our 1 degree on the diff, we end up with a 4 degree difference. So this car will want about a 3 degree when it comes to track time, depending on how it separates and so on. With your traction arms, you usually want 2.5 to 3 degrees. Without them, you want about 5 because of your spring flex. Also not sure how much the spring's going to flex because we've gone 9mm instead of 7mm. So the pinion angle might not change as much as we think. And then you've also got to compensate for if the car's going to separate when it leaves the line, which will also change the pinion angle as it leaves. Which is why we've got this window of about 2 degrees, which we can make some, say 3, 5, 7 and 10mm spaces for, and change as we need, as the car settles, as we do it at the track. Won't know till we try. I think our old yellow Corolla, we had about 3 degrees with the standard leaf springs and so on. And it went low 1.3s to the 60 foot off the handbrake. This one we're hoping to go into the 1.2s with our A340. Got a much better handbrake setup this time. Commodore will go inside the disc, and then you've also got your foot brake which will hold the caliper. So it gives you an idea of how we've set up the pinion angle. You basically want both the tail shaft and gearbox to end up at the same angle under power. So you don't want one down this way and one this way. Our gearbox is currently 3 degrees down. As our pinion moves under power, it's going to go up to around our 3 degrees, depending on how the suspension works. Not a lot of our customers run leaf springs, but we thought we'd still do a short video and give you a bit of insight on how it's done. A bit of Googling is usually your best way. Next step will be the shocks and sway bar.